I sat at my desk, lost in thought. The memories of the last 30 years with my wife, Sarah, washed over me like the gentle waves of a distant shore. Our honeymoon, in particular, held a special place in my heart. It wasn't just a trip. It was the celebration of a new chapter in our lives, and the moments we shared in Florida were some of the most unforgettable. As I reflected on those days, a deep sense of nostalgia and gratitude welled up inside me. It was as if we had stepped into a world where time slowed down, where the everyday worries of life couldn't reach us. The trip was magical from the very beginning. Hand in hand, we strolled along Clearwater Beach, the soft sand underfoot, and the warm waves lapping at our feet. The air was filled with the intoxicating scent of jasmine, wrapping us in an atmosphere of romance and serenity. But it wasn't just the beauty of the beach that made those days so special. It was the feeling of being completely present with one another, far from the distractions of everyday life. One of our most treasured experiences was hiking through the lush, thick forests. We ventured down winding trails, marveling at the way nature surrounded us. The highlight of our hikes was discovering hidden waterfalls, places so serene that they felt untouched by time. Standing in front of those cascading waters, we were in awe of nature's power and beauty. It felt like the world was speaking to us, reminding us of how small we were in the grand scheme of things, yet how connected we were to everything around us. Evenings in our cozy beachside cottage in Key West were just as memorable. The view from our cottage was nothing short of breathtaking. Each evening, we'd sit together and watch the sky come alive with vibrant shades of orange, pink, and purple as the sun dipped below the horizon. Those sunsets were like a daily reminder of the beauty and joy we had in each other. Our dinners on the beach became another cherished ritual. We'd enjoy fresh seafood, sipping on wine as the stars twinkled above. The food was incredible, but what truly made those nights special was the way Sarah would smile at me, her eyes filled with love and warmth. That smile, more than anything else, was what I held on to. It made every moment, no matter how simple, feel like it was wrapped in magic. As I sit here now, recalling those days, it's clear to me that it wasn't just a vacation. It was a journey that deepened our love. It was about more than just the places we visited. It was about the memories we created together, memories that have stayed with me ever since. Every step we took, every laugh we shared, brought us closer. And even after all these years, those moments still live within me, as fresh and vivid as if they happened yesterday. Lost in thought, I was suddenly brought back to the present by the sound of my secretary, Emily, stepping into my office. She gave me a knowing smile and joked, "Did you win the lottery or something?" I laughed and shook my head, explaining how Sarah had been incredibly sweet lately, doing little things that made me feel deeply appreciated, like she hadn't in years. "It's almost like we're on a second honeymoon," I said, my voice tinged with excitement. For the first time in a long while, Sarah was constantly on my mind. In the past 2 weeks, I found myself calling Sarah several times a day, just to hear her voice. It was as if I'd turned back into a giddy teenager, head over heels in love. I didn't mind at all. I was happy, and I didn't want this feeling to end. Our marriage had always been strong, but after 3 decades together, things can easily slip into a routine. Yet lately, something had shifted. Sarah had become more affectionate, more present, like she was seeking closeness and intimacy in ways we hadn't experienced in years. Every night felt like we were reconnecting, and she had even brought back some old habits from when we were first married. Little gestures and moments that reminded me of the early days of our relationship. I didn't question this newfound warmth. I simply enjoyed it, grateful for what felt like a renewal of our bond. With my heart full of love, I decided to leave work early that day and plan a romantic surprise for her. I stopped by a florist on the way home and picked up 2 dozen roses, her favorite. I pinned a heartfelt note, the kind I hadn't written in years, and grabbed a bottle of her favorite wine along with a box of chocolate-covered strawberries. Tonight was going to be special. I couldn't wait to tell her how much I loved her and surprise her with the 7-day cruise I had secretly booked for us. We both deserved some time away, and I wanted it to be a trip that would remind us of those magical days in Florida. Feeling more eager than ever, I pulled into the garage and made my way inside, my arms full of surprises. As I climbed the stairs to the kitchen, I anticipated finding Sarah there, maybe preparing dinner or relaxing after her day. Instead, I was greeted by our daughter, Emily, sitting at the kitchen table with a thoughtful expression on her face. I leaned down, kissed her forehead, and asked, "Hey, sweetie, where's your mom?" A couple of weeks ago, I knew they had had a serious conversation, and for a moment, I wondered if something might be weighing on her mind. Sarah had confessed her doubts to Emily. "I love your dad deeply, but I'm scared this will hurt him," she admitted. "Mom, Dad loves you. He'll understand," Emily reassured her. "You've said it yourself. You need something different, something more than you've been getting. Dad's not getting any younger, but he'll let you have this one experience. I can't face your father and tell him I'm going out with another man. It feels wrong," Sarah continued. "Let me handle it then," Emily offered. "Alex is going to meet you at the restaurant at 7 p.m., and you'll be ready to leave by 6 o'clock when Dad gets home. I'll explain everything to him. You'll get the night you've been longing for." Sarah sighed. "I agreed to the date, but I'm having second thoughts. How can I go out with another man after all these years with your father?" "Just let Dad see how much you love him these next 2 weeks," Emily suggested. "Show him there's nothing to worry about. When I explain everything, he'll understand that this is just about having fun and making a new friend. He loves you and has always given you what you wanted. This will be no different." "You think so?" Sarah asked, still uncertain. "Yes," Emily insisted. "It's just one night, Mom. It doesn't mean you're leaving him. After 30 years, a little fun shouldn't be a big deal. Show him how much he means to you before and after the date, and I'm sure everything will be fine." Sarah nodded, still unsure but beginning to accept the idea. "Maybe you're right. I'll show him every night just how much I love him, and when I come back, I'll do everything I can to make him the happiest man alive." "That's the spirit," Emily encouraged. "Dad's a great guy, and he'll understand." With the conversation over, Emily got ready to leave. "Now I've got to get home and cook dinner for Adam," she teased. "Thanks for talking, sweetie." Sarah smiled. "Say hi to Adam for me, and let me know when you two are finally going to give me grandkids." "Soon," Emily laughed. "We're planning to start trying in a few months." After Emily left, Sarah found herself alone in the art studio that Floyd had built for her in their backyard. She stared at her latest project, her creative flow blocked by the guilt of planning to meet another man. The weight of it stifled her, but Emily's words echoed in her mind, offering reassurance. Slowly, her brush began to move again, colors coming to life on the canvas. As the painting took shape, peace settled over her. Maybe Emily was right. Floyd would understand. He had always supported her, always given her what she needed. She muttered softly to herself, "Floyd might be upset at first, but I know I can make him understand. He's been such a wonderful husband and father, and I truly love him. I'll show him just how much he means to me." Sarah sat back, staring at the vibrant colors she had brought to life. The guilt hadn't fully disappeared, but she felt more at ease, believing she was doing the right thing. On the first night of my plan to reignite the spark in our marriage, I slipped into Floyd's favorite baby doll nightgown after my shower. I took extra care with my hair and makeup, and when he walked through the door, I greeted him in heels, whisking him off to the bedroom. I surprised him with something we hadn't shared in a long time. His beaming smile filled me with warmth. "Sarah, that was the best homecoming I've had in years." "What brought this on?" he asked, his eyes gleaming. "I just wanted to show you how much I love you, how special you are," I responded with a smile. "Did you enjoy it?" "I did. It's been way too long. I forgot how much I missed this," he replied, pulling me back onto the bed for more passionate kisses. That night was the most intimate we'd been in years. For a moment, I second-guessed my plans with Alex. Over the next few weeks, Floyd seemed like a new man. Happier, more affectionate, and much more engaging. It felt like we had rediscovered each other, and I found myself more content than I had been in years. I even confided in Emily about reconsidering the date with Alex. "I don't know, honey. Maybe I don't need this experience after all. Your dad and I have found our spark again." "That's great, Mom," Emily responded. "But maybe hold off on canceling just yet. See how the next couple of weeks go. Enjoy each other, and if things stay good, You can always cancel at the last minute. But remember, this opportunity might not come around again. Okay, maybe you're right, I conceded. Tell me more about Alex. Emily began explaining. When his wife, Susan, was diagnosed with a brain tumor, Alex dedicated himself to her until she passed. He became a recluse afterward, battling depression and loneliness. He's had a tough time even thinking about dating again. As I listened to Emily explain, something clicked in my mind. Alex and I both needed something. Him, companionship. Me, a little excitement. Emily assured me that this wasn't about long-term romance, just exploring friendship and maybe more, without abandoning Floyd. When he saw your picture, his face lit up. He asked, "Do I really have a chance to take her out?" And I told him, "Absolutely. Mom's not going to turn this down once she hears about you." He did ask, "What about your dad? Will he be okay with her going out with me considering she's his wife?" Emily reassured him, "Trust me, Dad would do anything to make Mom happy. You two need each other right now, and you'll be great friends. Leave the rest to me." Emily's words stuck with me. The next day, Alex called. We had a lovely chat, and he asked if I'd like to join him for dinner. His compliments about my photo made me feel like a schoolgirl again, butterflies and all. I agreed to meet him at the restaurant. Over the following days, our texts became more playful, and the anticipation for our date grew. As the night approached, my messages with Alex could have easily failed any loyalty test, but I was caught up in the excitement. Despite thoughts of Floyd never leaving my mind, I poured even more energy into our nights together. Floyd couldn't stop smiling, while I secretly harbored an overwhelming desire for closeness, a kind of fulfillment beyond anything I'd imagined. Gazing out the window, I saw the art studio lights flicker on across the street. The familiar neighborhood we had called home for so many years felt strange and distant, almost like a movie set where I was merely a spectator. I couldn't shake the heavy feeling of betrayal and disbelief. Sarah and I had built this life together, through all the highs and lows, and now it felt like it was crumbling in a way I never saw coming. Sharon's words replayed in my mind. "She loves you." But how could love drive Sarah to go out with another man? And how could Sharon, my own daughter, be the one to orchestrate it? The shock of it all still felt unreal, like I was trapped in a nightmare that wouldn't end. My heart raced as I thought of Sarah laughing, sharing a meal with someone else, perhaps even leaning into him the way she once leaned into me. The thought made my stomach churn. I grabbed the cruise tickets off the table and stared at them, my hands shaking. I had spent weeks planning this surprise trip for Sarah, hoping it would be the reset we desperately needed. Now, these plans felt hollow and foolish, like a desperate attempt to hold on to something that had already slipped away. The notion of a romantic getaway seemed laughable in the wake of this betrayal. The phone sat silently on the table, a constant reminder of my isolation. I considered calling Sarah again, but what would I even say? "I miss you? Come home?" No, that felt too weak, too eager. I couldn't bring myself to plead for her to come back and pretend nothing happened. The betrayal was too raw, too fresh. I ran my fingers through my hair, trying to collect my thoughts. Memories flooded my mind. Our wedding day, the laughter of our daughter as a child, the late-night talks over a glass of wine. I had trusted Sarah completely. We had been through so much together, decades of love, partnership, and shared dreams. What had changed? Had I been blind to the cracks forming beneath the surface, or had they appeared overnight, shattering our world? By dawn, I had made up my mind. The moment Sarah walked back through that door, we were going to talk, and this time, nothing would be left unsaid. I needed answers, clarity. I deserved that much. But what would I even say? Would I confront her, or would I plead for her to explain herself? The emotions battling within me felt like a storm ready to unleash. I wanted to scream, to cry, to let the hurt out in a torrent of words. But I also wanted to understand her side, to know why she felt the need to seek out another man. Was it a fleeting impulse, or had she been contemplating this for longer than I could imagine? As I prepared myself for the inevitable confrontation, I couldn't help but feel a sense of loss, not just of trust, but of the life we had built together. I still loved her. That much was clear, but love felt complicated now, intertwined with anger and disappointment. The sun began to rise, casting a golden glow over the house, illuminating the shadows of our once happy home. I took a deep breath, steeling myself for what lay ahead. I had fought for this marriage, and I would fight again. Not just for her, but for me, for the love we had shared. This was far from over. I saw the art studio I had built for Sarah 2 decades ago. It was her sanctuary, filled with her accomplishments, her paintings, her sculptures. Suddenly, the anger surged back, fueling a fire within me that had nothing to do with flames. I jumped off the couch, making countless trips to our bedroom. I gathered all her belongings, shoes, dresses, jewelry, and tossed them into the studio. Even the photo albums, including our wedding pictures, were not spared. The pile grew, heavy with memories and hurt. Then it struck me. Her wedding gown, the baby clothes, those sentimental items in the attic. I dragged them down too, piling them high. By the time I finished, the heap loomed large. At 5:30 a.m., I grabbed a canister of gasoline from the garage and marched to the studio. I told myself I'd give her until 6 a.m. to return, to explain herself and maybe salvage what was left. If she didn't come back by then, everything would go up in flames. Minutes passed as I transferred funds and canceled our joint accounts, packing a few bags. If she didn't show up by 6 a.m., I would leave by 6:05 a.m. My hope had burned out, just like my trust. I poured gasoline over the pile, hesitating as the weight of my actions settled in. With a deep breath, I struck a match. Flames roared to life, devouring everything Sarah cherished. The fire spread quickly, its orange glow visible from the street before I drove away. A wave of sorrow crashed over me. Tears streamed down my face as I realized that, like the studio, my once happy marriage was now ash. I didn't anticipate that the fire would jump from the studio to the back porch. Thankfully, firefighters arrived quickly and contained the blaze before it reached the house, though the damage was extensive. Smoke filled the house, making it uninhabitable until repairs could be made. I checked into a motel about 90 miles away, paying cash to avoid leaving a trace in case authorities came looking for me. My adrenaline kept me awake until I collapsed on the bed after turning off my phone. Sleep took over, and I didn't wake until noon the next day. When I turned my phone back on, it exploded with notifications, missed calls and texts from Emily, Sarah, and even the sheriff. Meanwhile, Sarah was at the restaurant, stepping out of the Uber to meet Alex. Nervous but excited, she noticed how he smiled at her little black dress. Earlier, she had spent hours getting ready, determined to make this night unforgettable. Seeing Alex's reaction filled her with confidence. They flirted like old friends, a connection she hadn't felt with Floyd in a long time. As they finished their drinks, the hostess announced their table was ready. The chemistry between them was undeniable. After a delightful dinner, Alex suggested they spend the night together. Sarah hesitated, thoughts of Floyd flashing through her mind. But Alex pulled her close and kissed her passionately, pushing all thoughts of her husband away. Inside the hotel room, they quickly surrendered to desire, the night filled with intensity and passion. For Sarah, it was exhilarating, a rush she hadn't experienced in years. The next morning, however, reality hit hard. As Alex drove her home, panic gripped Sarah when she saw fire trucks outside her house. Her heart sank as she learned about the fire. When she finally answered Emily's frantic calls, her world crumbled further. "Dad's missing, Mom. No one knows where he is." Panic engulfed her. She raced to the scene, where firefighters informed her that the studio was gone, a victim of the flames. Just as she stood amidst the wreckage, Sergeant Bennett approached, asking about Floyd's whereabouts. "I don't know where he is," Sarah admitted, guilt washing over her as she realized the weight of her actions. As the sergeant's questions hung in the air, she felt anger and fear collide. Her sanctuary had burned, and her marriage hung in the balance. She had to find Floyd to explain, to make sense of the chaos she had unleashed. I called Emily, my voice shaking. "Sharon, have you heard from your dad?" "No, I haven't spoken to him since last night, Mom. Why didn't you stay with him like we planned?" "He kicked me out and disowned me," she revealed, her voice breaking. Her words sent a chill down my spine. Floyd had never spoken like that before. If he really disowned her, it was worse than I had imagined. As I entered the house, the smell of smoke hit me hard. The walls were stained with soot. Our cozy home was now a disaster, uninhabitable until repairs could be made. I rushed to the bedroom, hoping to find some of my things, but when I opened the closet, I froze. All my clothes, shoes, and jewelry were gone. My heart raced as I searched my nightstand for my wedding rings. Panic set in when I realized they were missing. If Floyd noticed their absence, he must have assumed the worst. I scoured the house for any sign of my belongings, but everything had been cleared out. A horrifying realization hit me. He had severed me from his life in one devastating blow. In tears, I called Emily again. I don't know where to go. Alex has offered me a place to stay, but I don't want to see him. I need to be alone. I've lost your father, I sobbed into the phone. Mom, don't say that, Emily pleaded. Dad loves you. I know he does, but he burned everything. My clothes, my paintings, the studio, everything's gone. I hurt him, and I don't blame him. What I did is unforgivable. I should have talked to him instead of going on that date. Mom, don't blame yourself, Emily tried to console me. You can stay with us until the house is fixed. We'll buy you new clothes and get you settled tonight. But all my work, everything I built for 20 years, is gone. I lamented, tears streaming down my face. Just then, my phone rang. It was Floyd. Barely able to breathe, I answered. Floyd, is that you? Hi, Sarah, he replied, his tone flat. Floyd, please, where are you? Come home. We need to talk, I begged. No, Sarah. I know everything from your daughter. Your daughter, not mine. You're both dead to me, he said, his words cold and cutting. This may be the last time we talk. No, Floyd, please don't say that. I love you. The studio is gone. Did you do this, Sarah? You did this, not me, I insisted. Your betrayal is what burned everything to the ground. Your plan to betray me? There's no way to accept or forgive such treachery. Floyd, don't do this. I love you, I pleaded. This is over. Contact my lawyer for anything further. Goodbye, Sarah. Floyd, wait, Floyd. I screamed, but he was already gone. I collapsed onto the ground, feeling as if my entire world had been ripped away. Emily arrived just as I was calling Floyd again, tears streaming down her face as we embraced, mourning the loss of everything we held dear. We couldn't stay in the wreckage of our home, so we headed to Emily's house. When we got there, Emily told her husband, Mike, everything. He was horrified. Sharon, how could you do this to him? You've shattered him. Emily hadn't expected Mike's reaction, but deep down, she knew the real issue was the collapse of her parents' marriage. Everything was falling apart because of one night. 5 days later, Floyd returned to assess the damage. He chose not to file an insurance claim to avoid further costs. He contacted his lawyer, making it clear the house was his and that he would get half of their savings but no child support. When Emily found him inspecting the damage, she embraced him tightly. Daddy, I'm so sorry. Please forgive us. We love you. Sharon, I told you not to speak to me again, he replied coldly. I can't forgive either of you. Dad, Mom needs you. She's miserable. Please come over and talk to her. I will never speak to her again, Floyd said, his voice unwavering. Our marriage ended the moment she chose another man over me. Emily left in tears, devastated. The next day, Sarah received divorce papers. Overwhelmed, she realized her marriage had ended because of her infidelity. She sought counseling and begged Floyd to talk, but he remained silent. Mike eventually reached out to Floyd to apologize for Emily's involvement, but the damage was done. Meanwhile, Sarah hoped to return to their rebuilt house, but the divorce decree awarded it to Floyd. She received half of their savings and $3,000 a month in alimony for 10 years. But Floyd had no intention of ever speaking to her again.